Okay. So, for the rules of this game, each of these characters will be replacing a character in the mainline series of Resident Evil games to see how long they can each survive. If there are two characters working together. So in Resident Evil 0, there's Rebecca Chambers with Billy Cohen, and if one of them dies, the run is over. It is considered a fail, and they do not survive the mansion or train. So, and on that, the second character will not be replaced. So if one of these characters, so Agent 47, replaces Billy Cohen, Rebecca Chambers will not be replaced. She will stay in the game, essentially. And his job is to essentially protect her until they survive the mansion. They all have only one life. If they fail, that's the end of the run. If they end up alone in any of the games, they have to essentially solve the puzzles and get key items, or be strong enough to brute force through these the puzzles of the mansions and areas. Otherwise, if they do have another person, so if again Agent 47 replaces Billy, and Rebecca is still there, the puzzle is immediately solved, regardless of how any skill or intelligence or wisdom that's needed. So any puzzles are immediately solved if there's another character helping out. I will be trying to replace the character that best fits the character that's replacing them. So Agent 47 will be replacing Billy Cohen, as Black Widow will be replacing Rebecca Chambers, and so on. And they will be surviving each of the monsters that are encountered, and as soon as they survive one of them, that's it for that type of monster. If we come into a 50-50, as in the character could or could not survive, depending on circumstances, they immediately succeed their first time. However, the second time, it's an immediate fail. I will be trying to go over those when it comes up. So, beginning the very first enemy type is the zombie. And of course, Agent 47 is gonna survive that. Zombies are typically the easiest things to fight. There are, although they're overwhelming amount, and we've seen in cutscenes in like Resident Evil 2, the very first original Resident Evil 2, we see them overwhelming essentially police officers and stars, essentially wiping out the entire city within a matter of days. So, but they are typically the easiest things to kill. Most of these characters are not going to have a problem dispatching any of the zombies, so that would obviously never be a problem for Agent 47. He's had a lot of experience in the field, assassinating people from a distance, up close. He would have absolutely no issue with that. The next enemy that in Resident Evil 0 that we face off is the zombie dog. They're fast, agile, and in the original Resident Evil, when there was live action, we've seen them overpower machine gunners. Literal STARS units that had big machine guns. But the difference is, that was in the field, where it's a lot of tall grass. It's a lot harder to see them. They're all very low to the ground, so the zombie dogs had an advantage in killing and decimating the entire most of the STARS units that were outside. But in the train, it's a very closed off space. It's a lot of visibility. Absolutely no issue I could see at all with at least most of these characters here. As long as they're fast and able to shoot them without needing any time to aim or reload, like if they have one bullet. So zombie dogs are going to be not much of an issue for Agent 47. The next enemy that faces off is, of course, one second, I forgot their name. This is why I have the list. The Mimicry Marcus. Well, isn't it just the... yeah. The Mimicry Marcuses. Which are just made up of a bunch of leeches. The leeches are very small, and when grouped up into essentially an entire body, they have longer range. They can essentially attack from a distance, but they're not that hard to kill. Rebecca Chambers was able to kill one of them in the train and make short work of it, so there really wasn't that much of an issue. Although she was essentially STARS trained and had that experience, so anybody with even a decent amount of experience could basically best them. And Agent 47 has tons of experience, so there's going to be absolutely no issue coming along with that. But he doesn't face it. Rebecca does in the very first time. And even though Agent 47 is a lone wolf, we've seen him pair up with people prior hand, so him working with Rebecca Chambers does not seem like that big of a jump to take, although he probably wouldn't exactly like it, and her insisting to go forward ahead would probably not look that great. But then comes the big issue. Rebecca gets covered in the leeches, and Billy literally has to shoot 3 times to kill all the leeches. The 2 that literally crawled onto her, and the 3rd that jumped at her. Agent 47 has a lot of accuracy, so that would never be an issue. I don't see him accidentally shooting and killing Rebecca by accident or on purpose. So I think they both would pretty much survive that. Now, even though he doesn't face the imitator, he does face off the mimicry later in the game, but as of now, that's not going to be much of an issue. Now onto the giant scorpion that falls through the roof. It is essentially a bullet sponge tank of a creature. And put in the question of, will Agent 47 survive it? I think yes. He's been able to basically control his breath to basically slow things down. We've seen him with the rifles and that kind of stuff. It's kind of his huge instinct and gimmick. So being able to dodge attacks from the giant scorpion as well as putting holes into it doesn't seem that much of an issue. He's also given access to a shotgun within the train, so there's another big weapon that he can use. And then moving on from there, trying to remember what the next enemy was. I know there was a lot more. I think after that, they face off the soldiers infested with the leeches, but that shouldn't be an issue until both Rebecca and Billy goes into both sides of the train to try to stop the train. I think Agent 47's is smart enough to not only read the manual, but be able to help stop the train. It's not that difficult of a puzzle. Depending on which way he goes, it doesn't really matter. Again, all puzzles are immediately solved since they both have a radio to contact each other and be able to speak, solving the puzzle. So even though there's a small time limit, I don't see it being much of an issue. Now, when the train crashes, they end up into the manor, and I think the next enemy that is faced off is the giant poisonous spiders. I don't think they're going to be much of an issue. They're pretty fragile and weak, even in the game. Even though there was like 2 giant ones, there's barely any. I don't think there's going to be much of an issue coming along that way. So, absolutely surviving that. And then the bats and the crows. Another small, weak creatures. They do a lot of pecking, and we've seen people in the RPD literally get pecked to death. But I don't think it's going to be much of an issue. Most of the characters have even survived it. Most notably Claire, which doesn't have much officer training, but grew up with pistols and firearms. So I highly doubt it's going to be much of an issue for Agent 47. Plague crawlers, another fragile, low to the ground enemy. They aren't that fast. I mean, they do attack rapidly, but they've been shown to be not much of a threat. Not much to think of, really. The Centurion, the giant centipede, another creature that actually gets distracted by Rebecca. It carries Rebecca, and even though it can attack Billy, it's not really that focused on Billy. It's more focused on Rebecca as it holds her and tries to crawl around the room. Another non-threat, really. Then comes the Eliminator, another small enemy that's fast, often hops on people, but they've been shown not much of a threat. And I think Agent 47's fast enough to save Rebecca in this case, since Rebecca falls down the hole and she needs help climbing up before it's too late. So I highly doubt it's going to be much of an issue. So, onto the hunters and the giant bat. Also, the hunter is a small creature, it's not going to be much of a threat. But then the giant bat will be a split off, so he's not going to get any help. It'll just be him against the giant bat, which summons bats. And again, the bats are not much of a threat, but the giant bat is kind of a pick you up and drop you type of threat. However, I highly doubt it's going to be much of an issue. So I don't think that's going to be much of an issue. Next is the lurker, giant frogs. They only show up in one part of the game, back when you lowered the water for the bridge with the sluice gate. They're hardly a threat. Just like the dogs, they really only appear one time, and then they're gone. And then he never really faces off against the proto-tyrant, since the proto-tyrant is faced off by Rebecca Chambers. Rebecca fights the proto-tyrant, and she survives pretty much alone, so not much gonna stop there. And then we move on to the Queen Leech. It'll be Agent 47 and Rebecca versus the Queen Leech, showing off their form, their first form. They're hardly a threat. If Billy and Rebecca can take care of it, I'm pretty sure Agent 47 and Rebecca can do it. And then in the Queen Leech second form, Rebecca focuses more onto the valves to try to open up the door, the ceiling, I meant. And Agent 47 being a distraction and shooting the Queen Leech's second form doesn't seem that far-fetched. Yeah, I don't think I think Agent 47 surviving this one. I'm going to move them into Resident Evil 0, and then I'm going to try to go over each of the other characters to also raise them up or drop them into wouldn't survive. But right now I'm putting them in Resident Evil 0 before we move on to Resident Evil 1. Agent Stone. In Division Metal Black, he accidentally killed a family that was on the side, and it completely broke him mentally. But he was able to go through the contest with the vehicle, the police vehicle. But in this case, he will not be having the police van. So, but as a gunner, he's been pretty good and accurate in the game. He's been able to shoot out through a turret, so the issue comes along when he has to try to save Rebecca Chambers. This is where it gets kind of iffy, where I'm going to have a 50-50 right away. When it comes to shooting his target, he does get blinded and ends up accidentally killing that family, like I said. So, but here's the big but. In the original story, it was because that gang burned down his parents' house, killing both of his parents, and that's why he got blinded by rage. But considering we don't really have that in the actual game, it's described that he saw them as dirt bags and he just lost control and fired off at them. It's going to be really hard to say that he saves Rebecca in this, but it would be a really nice redemption. And again, I'm going to be using the 50-50. There is a big chance that he could, since he has police training, save Rebecca from the leeches, but that's a very big if. Let me know what you guys think, if Agent Stone can truly do it. I'm leaning on the 50-50. He might lose control and accidentally shoot Rebecca, or he might save her. I don't think he would have an issue with the giant scorpion. He has a machine gun. It barely takes many shotgun shells to put down, even on the hardest difficulty. So I don't think it's going to be much of an issue to him. And same thing with zombie dogs. I don't think it's going to be much of an issue. Looking forward into the story and the enemies, I think is pretty smart. He's not shown any incompetence or stupidity. Like I said, he was just blinded by rage, so puzzles shouldn't be that big of an issue. And then the Centurion, again, I think he would be able to save Rebecca in this. No. Question is, would he go for the head? But then again, it's a machine gun. Unfortunately, I think this is going to be the 50-50 again. Which, unfortunately, means Agent Stone's not going to move up. I can't see him surviving it. He's either going to get Rebecca killed, or she's going to be basically bleeding with bullet holes. And I highly doubt they're going to truly survive. Now, Austin Powers. In the movie, he's funnily enough pretty accurate. I haven't seen him really miss so far that it hits somebody else. So I don't think he's gonna struggle much in the early parts. Again, Rebecca's gonna be more carrying him on puzzles. Although he's got a lot of mojo, it's not gonna really help much when it comes to trying to stop a train. Getting into the I think he will save Rebecca from the leeches. I haven't really... It's been a long while since I've last watched the movies, but I don't think he's gonna hurt her in that way, or shoot her. So then comes the question of some of the major enemies that do come up, such as the giant scorpion. He's survived dual machine guns before. He's survived bullets coming at him, but I don't think he's gonna survive the giant scorpion. Austin Powers, I don't think he survives this. Although I might have to rewatch the movies just to see if he could or couldn't. Black Widow. Black Widow will be replacing Rebecca Chambers. It'll be our first Rebecca replacement. We've seen her understand other people's feelings in the later movies, such as in Civil War, and even help out Cap and try to... There's been a lot of pretty good showing of her accuracy, her wits, her intelligence, often using her looks to try to get more information. And looking forward throughout the game, I don't see much of an issue. She'll be able to survive puzzles on her own. She'll be able to survive attacks. So, like saying the giant bat, that's not going to be much of a problem or issue. And then also the mimicries, not much of an issue again. She's been able to use dual pistols, dual machine guns, rifles, snipers, that kind of stuff. So I don't think she's going to have much of an issue. Of course, she'll be taken out of the Centurion fight, since she would be essentially captured, and Billy would basically have to save her. And in the game, he does save Rebecca Chambers, so again, not much of an issue there. Fighting the Tyrant, however, is different. The Tyrant prototype is a big monster with an exposed body. He's been shown to be no issue for Rebecca on the very first encounter, and with Black Widow having even more training and being essentially the perfect killing machine, I highly doubt she will die to the Tyrant, so I think she survives this. Brock Sampson. Brock's been shown to have pretty good intelligence, quick wits. He's got a lot of strength. He's been able to break through. If I remember correctly, he was able to break through a wall and windows quite effortlessly, even taking some damage from other soldiers and people, and basically been able to shrug it off. Not even an issue. To the point where literally somebody used the cyanide pills. So, fighting, intelligence, he's not much of an issue. He's got plenty of accuracy. He's been pretty good with that. I haven't seen him really miss. And even when it comes down to it, he will basically use his fists to pummel things to death. So there have been literally no issues. He's been known as a legend. So I think Brock Sampson actually survives this. Caitlyn. When it comes to Caitlyn, the issue immediately arises. Will she be able to use pistols? She's not shown. She's been shown in the show to, well, in the game and the show, she mostly uses her rifle. She's heavily reliant on it, and when it comes to things that are very quick, which we saw like Jinx in the very first season at the very last episode, zip around. I think the dogs are going to be the issue here. Because the zombie dogs are, again, very fast, very aggressive. They go in a pack, essentially. And in the train, there's only like 2 minimum that burst through the window after the other soldier comes in and basically dies. Unfortunately, as good of a shot as Caitlyn is, when it comes to things coming at her very fast, she's not that good. And unfortunately, it's a very closed-in space. The train is very narrow. So, unfortunately, I don't think she survives this. Deadshot. He's got wrist pistol, he's got wrist shots, wrist gauntlet shots. Bleh. I can't speak today. Anyhow, he's been very accurate. He's been dead on. That's literally his whole gimmick. He never misses. He always gets his shot right. So yeah, I absolutely think he's gonna... Although he's a mercenary for hire, I don't think he's gonna really like Rebecca wanting to turn him in that much, or even take that. But he's been known to work with other people to survive bigger issues, such as the Suicide Squad. We've seen him literally work with the group, so he could work with Rebecca, I guess. Although I kinda highly doubt it. He's very accurate, so he will absolutely save Rebecca from the slugs. No issue there. And I don't see much of an issue later in the game. I think he actually survives this. He's pretty intelligent. He's got enough wits to him. Doom guy. Accurate. Brutal. Very strong. What more to say? I think he survives this. Aaron Black. Aaron Black is a mercenary that was basically abducted by Tarkatans, and after killing them all, he essentially decided to stay in Outworld. He's very accurate, so when things are up close, he can really kill. So zombie dogs are not much of an issue. Oh, he never meets them. My bad. I keep forgetting that to separate the game. Working with Rebecca, I don't think he would work with Rebecca very much. He's been shown to be very loyal to Kodokan, but in the scenario, he wouldn't have Kodokan. So even as a lone outlaw, I don't think he'll have much of an issue with threats, even the giant scorpion. I think it's a high chance he survives this. I don't really see many threats that he wouldn't stop. He's got a rifle, bear trap, poison, acid jar. He's got plenty of weapons. Yeah, I don't see much of an issue coming through. Frank West. From photographer, journalist, to being in the heart of the actual zombie apocalypse, has been able to survive a lot of zombies. And when it comes to other people, he's not very... He can or can't be very keen on saving people. He's been shown to be very cold. Accuracy is kind of unknown. We haven't really seen much of him being very accurate. So that's a 50-50 there. In the games he does appear, he's survival trained, but I don't think he had much of experience with firearms. In the very first game, he's handed a pistol, which he didn't really look that happy to use, mostly because of the inexperience. So I don't think he survives this. Frank has average wits and intelligence, but yeah, I just don't think Frank West is going to survive this one. He survived very hard fights, but I don't think he's going to survive. Heavy. Giant minigun. Very much spray. As much as it hurts. Can he save Rebecca from the leeches? Is the question. I'm gonna say no. He's got too much spread. It's most likely gonna hit her. It's a lot. Now Jake Peralta, FBI detective in the police precinct. He's got pretty good wits and intelligence. He hasn't been shown to be very awful of a shot. He's been shown to be pretty good. So, taking up Billy's spot, I think he would be... Now, would he be fast enough to save Rebecca from the hole? I think so. I think he would. Billy was able to fight through a bunch of those lab monkeys just to basically get to Rebecca and save her, so I think he can do that. But the question is, would he be able to survive some of the big enemies, such as the giant scorpion? No. There's a difference between criminals that are just basically people, humans, and a giant scorpion. I just highly doubt it. James Stokes, a lot of intelligence, wit, he was able to basically figure out Dexter within a very short amount of time. He's very suspicious of people, but he hasn't shown to be very bad of a shot, so I'd say he's got good accuracy. He would absolutely save Rebecca. He's got enough wits and intelligence to survive the train. The manor itself, yeah, I think he would be able to survive. Save Rebecca from the giant centipede. And then facing off against the giant bat comes the other issue. Could Doak survive the giant bat? He's not super strong. He's been overpowered by Dexter himself. This is going to be where I'm going to use my 50-50. I think he has a chance of surviving the giant bat and a chance of just dying to it. Yeah, I think other than that, I think he got a pretty good shot of surviving it. He's got a bunch of police training, special forces training, he's been in a war, so he would easily replace Billy. Honestly, one by one. 1-to-1. So yeah, I think he would survive it. No Jax Briggs. Jax has been shown to have very special forces training. Again, he would probably have a lot more experience than Billy. He's survived fights from like Mortal Kombat with like even more monstrous creatures. So I think he'll survive the train. Absolutely. Face off the scorpion, he would definitely do it. Face off against the centipede, be pretty easy. He's been shown to run pretty decently fast. So I think he'll save Rebecca when it comes down to when she falls down the hole. Facing off against the giant bat, again, it's not going to be much of a big issue. Yeah, I think Jax Briggs actually survives this. Moving on to Jinx. She's fast, has a lot of wit and intelligence, although she's psychotic, insane. Replacing Rebecca, she's more of a shoot first, ask questions later. She's been shown to really just break and then just fire when somebody like pulls the trigger of a gun. So meeting with Billy, I think they'll have some issues. Absolutely. Other than that, I think unlike Caitlyn, she will absolutely survive the zombie dogs. She's been shown to be very fast, very quick. She's been able to outpace Warwick himself. So yeah, I don't think that zombie dogs are going to be much of an issue. Later down the line, again, she'll have enough. She's been able to create machines and weapons, so I think she'll be intelligent enough to stop the train. Giant spiders, not going to be much of an issue. Trying to think of what will be the big issue. The Tyrant. The Tyrant's not going to be an issue. It's bulky, it's slow, it takes too long to fight. She'll definitely outpace it, so not much of an issue there. She's been able to survive alone for long periods of time. Yeah, I think she survives this. Master Chief. Very accurate again. Although in this case I am actually removing Cortana. He will not be having any help from Cortana, and will just be basically on his own. But again, very militant with training, has a lot of experience, essentially made to be a perfect weapon, very accurate. I think he will be a better replacement for Billy. He would surpass Billy himself. So, yeah, I think he's going to survive that. Nick from Left 4 Dead 2. Nick's a con man thrown into a raging zombie apocalypse within a group of 4 people. The question is, without those 4 people, would he be able to survive alone? Against zombies? Yes. Against a giant scorpion? In comes the big question. The tanks are much more deadly, and as well as the witch. So, not to mention he's been able to survive hordes. Canonically, they've survived plenty of maps, so I think he's gonna probably make it out. I don't see him dying this way. Officer Barbrady, immediately he's not going to survive this. He's been a bad shot. Later seasons, it's shown he's been a decent shot, but when it goes against him. So, unfortunately, I just don't see it in him. He's too trusting. He's easily not that bright. Very dumb cop. So, puzzles are never going to be solved with him alone. So, yeah, I don't think he's going to survive it. Officer Earl, very accurate. We've seen him. He's very fast. He's very strong. He's actually pretty smart. He's got reflexes. I think he's going to survive the scorpion. I think he's going to save Rebecca. In no world do I see him not surviving this. Officer Earl survives this. Officer Papermouth, been shown to recklessly shoot. I don't think he has the brights to survive this. Rambo, again, another perfect fit for Billy. Been in the Vietnam War. Yeah, I think. Yeah. Rambo's been shown to have a lot of intelligence. He's been able to make up traps. A lot of wisdom, quick wits. Yeah, I think he survives it. Rain. Her main weapon is the giant blades. but she's been known to pick up guns and fire them off. As a replacement for Rebecca, she's fast, she's been able to slow down time. So, and then it comes down to the Tyrant again. The Tyrant's going to actually be an issue. It's big, it's bulking. However, it is very vulnerable. Very weak. Especially in its chest region. Yeah, I think she survives this. Red Hood. Another shoot first, ask questions later. He's got Batman training with him, so he has been very accurate. He's shown to have no hesitation, been able to shoot constantly. Hell, he's even been able to go toe-to-toe with Batman himself. I think he survives this. He's been shown to have wits and intelligence and be able to plan ahead. So yeah. Sonya Blade. I don't think Sonya is going to be very trusting of Billy, especially in the early stages. Though Billy does basically turn himself in, which would be definitely a lot different from the other criminals Sonya's been facing, such as Kano and those other Black Dragon members. She definitely has a lot of military experience. She even has drones. Yeah, I think Sonya Blade survives this. Stryker is a police officer, man of law, but he's faced off against Ermac, which is quite impressive. But I do not think he's going to survive this. I think it just calls for too much for him. Now, Tank Dempsey, shown to have plenty of wits and intelligence. Canonically, they solve all those big puzzles that basically get to those special ends in each of the maps in the third game. He's had plenty of time to get his accuracy. He's faced off against zombie dogs. I'm trying to think, what issue would he come up with? The giant scorpion would definitely be an issue, but I highly doubt it'll be an issue for very long. I think Dempsey survives this. The Punisher. Just a bigger upgrade to Dempsey. I'm just gonna say he's gonna survive this. Violet. Trying to think of the bigger issues. Unfortunately, I think Tyrant is going to be the downfall here. I don't think zombie dogs are going to be the issue. I just think Tyrant is another hulking mass. I think it's going to be overwhelming. Yosemite Sam. Bad shot. He has been shown to be good shot and bad shot. So saving Rebecca in the first one be 50-50, but is not shown to be very intelligent. Is very dumb, so not gonna survive this. Zoe, I think, will be perfect fit for Rebecca. I don't see much of an issue. She's faced off against tanks, so the Tyrant's not going to be much of a difference or issue. Alright. I'm going to try to go through this a little bit faster. Resident Evil 1. Will they be able to survive Resident Evil 1? For Agent 47, let me think. There's a giant snake. It's very easy to kill. You can literally just... It's not much of an issue. Although, a lot of people have died to it. Plenty more puzzles. Fortunately, E doesn't have to... Fortunately, I don't think the Midnight Sonata is going to be much of an issue for him. I'm trying to think. By the end, it's very close quarters and a giant tyrant again. But this one has a lot less space. But I think it's going to survive it. And then when it gets to the open area, again, not much of an issue. Black Widow, however, unfortunately, I don't think she's going to survive this, especially to the Tyrant. The Tyrant's going to be a big issue. The giant snake's also going to be a big issue. But I'm pretty sure she can deal with the snake. That'll be a first 50-50, and then lose to the Tyrant. There's no doubt. Definitely step up from Resident Evil 0 is Tyrant, but it's not going to be that much of a survivable. Brock's going to survive it. Deadshot, I don't think he's going to survive it. Unfortunately, I don't think so. I think there's just too many traitors going around. And then when he meets Lisa, that's going to be even harder. Yeah. Lisa Trevor is going to get him. So. Doom guy. He's strong enough to definitely drop those giant pillars. Probably survive Lisa. Fight the Tyrant, absolutely. Aaron Black's not going to survive this. I think there's just too much going on here. Dokes. He's going to be replacing Chris. I think he survives this. I think he probably have a 50-50 with the snake, but definitely survive this. Jax, same issue with Dokes. Facing off that snake is not going to be that great. But the Tyrant, not much of an issue. Jinx. Tyrant's not going to be much of an issue. Lisa Trevor is very slow and sluggish. Trying to think. Yeah, I think she could survive it. Master Chief? Let me think. Fighting off against the snake? Absolutely. But then comes in the Tyrant. I think it's survivable. Nick, however, is not surviving this. Officer Earl. I don't think he's going to survive this either. I don't see Nick or Earl surviving this. But Rambo, absolutely. Rain. She has the ability to slow down time. That's pretty good. Yeah, I don't think this match is going to be much of an issue for her. Red Hood. Definitely plenty of firepower in it. I think he's going to survive this. Sonya Blade. I gotta remember the Midnight Sonata. Which for like, I think it was... But Rebecca plays... I think Rebecca comes in and does it, if I remember correctly. Will Sonya survive this? I think as a replacement to Jill, yeah, she probably would. Dempsey replacing Chris. He's definitely faced big monsters, but the Tyrant is a lot stronger here. He's got those giant bladed fingers. That's a lot harder for him. But he's been able to survive Nikolai in the mech. But that was the other three. But I can't count him out for that. I think he can survive this, but with the 50-50 used. So I'm going to move all the 50-50s down. I think these three have a 50-50. Punisher. Yeah, he's surviving this. He's definitely going to take place of Chris. I don't think it's going to be much of an issue. Zoe. Taking place of Jill. I think there will be just too much distrust. It's definitely not the best time to be lacking trust. Unfortunately, I don't think she's gonna survive the very first this Resident Evil 1's banner, let alone the Tyrant. Now, Resident Evil 2, abundance of zombies, zombie dogs, lickers. Definitely is gonna be the hardest of them. Unfortunately, I don't think Dokes is gonna survive lickers. Dempsey's not gonna survive lickers. Jack's not gonna survive lickers. Brock will, but I'm trying to think. Then comes in Mr. X. I think he can go decently toe-to-toe with Mr. X, but the problem is Mr. X is invulnerable at this point. He's got the giant trench coat covering it. But Samson's been pretty smart, so I think he'll figure out it's be a waste of time to keep fighting Mr. X right now. He'll definitely be a better replacement to Leon. Yeah, I think he can survive this. Doom Guy. He's faced worse, honestly. Unfortunately, I think this is where Agent 47's gonna end his run. Although he's a great shot and all that, he definitely lacked trust in Ada. But yeah, I think Mr. X is gonna get the better of him. Why do I keep forgetting his name? He's a very important character. Yeah, the G-type adult's not going to be much of an issue either. But the young is definitely going to be there. The Ivy and Poison Ivy. Oh yeah, G. That's his name. G. Alright. I think she'll survive G. She'll survive liquors and dogs. She'll definitely try to save Sherry. Survive the G-Dolts, yeah. G second form, yeah. I think she survives this. Same thing as Master Chief. Yeah. Rambo. Unfortunately, I think this is where Rambo ends. Yeah, unfortunately. I think if G doesn't get him, Mr. X will. Rain. The ability to slow down time is still pretty much carrying her. But I think G getting to his final form is definitely going to be quite the challenge. I don't see her surviving this. Red Hood, replacing Leon. I highly doubt he'll trust Ada. But then again, yeah. I don't think he survives this, unfortunately. I think if G doesn't get him, Mr. X will. Castle. I think Castle survives this. Sonya. She's got more experience than Claire. I think she survives this. Resident Evil 3. Replacing essentially Jill. So all of these characters will be replacing Jill for this. And upon hearing Umbrella, I don't think Samson's gonna trust him. Nor Doom Guy. I don't think any of them are gonna trust Umbrella. Especially the UPRS? I can't remember. But that Umbrella organization there, that's basically saving citizens. And then comes in the big ol' issue of Nemesis. Again, she would be decent for Jill. Unfortunately, I don't think any... I thought I would be more certain, but I'm losing my certainness. But yeah, I don't think Jinx survives this. I think Doomguy could, but that'd be using a 50-50. I know he survived worse, but you'd be trusting Carlos and then having to face off against Nemesis in all of his forms. And I'm doing the original, not the remake, because the remake's really bad. But yeah, I think without Cortana, it's going to be a struggle. Castle, I'm trying to think if he could do it. I think he could. I'm really struggling here. But trying to survive Resident Evil 4. I think Doomguy definitely survives it. But unfortunately, I don't think anybody else will. Especially since, I forgot what it was, but the lake monster. That one definitely is a lot bigger an issue. I think Doomguy has enough brute strength. But then swimming in the water, because oftentimes it will knock over the boat after enough harpoons and damage it takes. It'll try to knock over the boat and you'll essentially try to swim back into it in the original. But in the remake, you essentially just stay in the boat until it breaks. In the remake, he's definitely surviving it. But I'm struggling to think if any of them would survive the original. But I'm going to use the remake for now. Resident Evil 5. Would he follow the same line as Chris? I think so. But Resident Evil 6, as much of a mess it is, there's so many things in there. But I am far over the time. I'm definitely going to fix up this list to make it a lot better. Sorry. Hopefully tomorrow I can fix this. Put down a comment to tell me where you would put somebody higher or lower. I'll try to read as many comments as I can to figure it out, because it's a struggle to try to figure out each of the game's biggest issues of if they would survive it or not, as well as survive the puzzles. And also let me know what characters you would like to add to it and how far do you think they're going to survive. But that's it for the list for today. I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.